The Battle of Kadesh, Egypt versus Hittites. The epic clash that shaped history. Introduction: a clash of ancient titans. In the year 1274 BCE, two of the most powerful empires of the ancient world collided in a dramatic showdown near the city of Kadesh, located in what is today modern-day Syria. On one side stood the mighty Egyptian empire under Pharaoh Ramses II, known for his ambition and godlike image. On the other side, the formidable Hittite Empire led by King Muwatalli II, a ruler determined to secure dominance over the strategic territories of the Levant. The result was one of the largest chariot battles ever fought in human history. But Kadesh was more than a military confrontation. It was a display of diplomacy, propaganda, and the shifting tides of power in the ancient Near East. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the events leading to the battle, the strategies employed, the fierce clash itself, and the surprising aftermath that changed the course of history. Background: the road to Kadesh. To understand why the Battle of Kadesh occurred, we must first explore the geopolitical context of the time. The Egyptian and Hittite empires were long-time rivals in the struggle for influence over the Levant, a region rich in resources and trade routes. This area, which includes modern-day Syria, Lebanon, and Israel, was crucial for any empire seeking economic and military power in the ancient world. During the reign of Seti I, Ramses' father, the Egyptians had briefly regained control over key cities in the region, including Kadesh. However, by the time Ramses II came to power, the Hittites had recaptured many of these territories. Ramses II, eager to cement his reputation and reclaim lost glory, initiated a military campaign to push northward. His goal: retake the city of Kadesh, a fortified stronghold at the heart of the disputed territory. But King Muwatalli II of the Hittites had anticipated such a move. He gathered a coalition of vassal states and prepared an army to defend his claim. The Levant became a chessboard, and Kadesh the square where kings would gamble everything. The armies, power and strategy on both sides. Both the Egyptian and Hittite forces brought considerable might to the battlefield. Ramses II divided his army into 4 divisions, named after Egypt's chief gods, Amun, Ra, Ptah, and Set. Estimates vary, but historians believe that Ramses commanded around 20,000 troops, including infantry, archers, and roughly 2,000 chariots. Egyptian chariots were fast and maneuverable, typically manned by 2 soldiers, a driver and an archer, and pulled by 2 horses. The Hittite army, meanwhile, was significantly larger. Some accounts suggest that Muwatalli II had over 40,000 men and as many as 3,000 heavy chariots. Unlike the Egyptians, Hittite chariots were heavier and often carried 3 warriors, a driver, a spearman, and a shield-bearer, providing them with greater combat power in close engagements. Muwatalli also had the advantage of positioning. He arrived at Kadesh first and set up a fortified camp behind the city walls, giving him superior knowledge of the terrain and ample time to prepare an ambush. The deception: how the Hittites fooled the Egyptians. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Battle of Kadesh is the clever deception employed by the Hittites. As Ramses approached Kadesh with the Amun division leading the way, he encountered 2 Bedouin spies who claimed to have defected from the Hittite army. They told Ramses that Muwatalli and his forces were far to the north, days away from the city. Believing this information, Ramses allowed his army to stretch out during the march, creating dangerous gaps between divisions. In reality, the Hittite army was already hidden behind Kadesh, waiting for the Egyptians to walk into their trap. Muwatalli had deliberately planted false informants to lull Ramses into a false sense of security. It wasn't until Egyptian scouts captured more reliable Hittite soldiers that the truth emerged. Ramses realized, too late, that the Hittite army was within striking distance, and his divisions were dangerously scattered. The Egyptian camp was not prepared for the attack that was about to strike. The battle begins, chaos at the Egyptian camp. With the Egyptian army divided, Muwatalli seized his moment. The Hittite chariots thundered out from behind Kadesh, racing toward the Egyptian camp. They crashed into the Ra division, which had just arrived and was unprepared for combat. Panic erupted. Egyptian soldiers were caught off guard, their lines shattered by the momentum of the Hittite assault. The camp was thrown into chaos, and Ramses' position was in grave jeopardy. But the pharaoh, despite being isolated with only the Amun division, refused to flee. In inscriptions that Ramses would later commission, he is portrayed as a heroic figure rallying his troops, mounting his chariot, and personally leading a counterattack against the Hittite onslaught. Whether exaggerated or not, the Egyptians managed to hold their ground and inflict damage on the attackers. The arrival of the Tar division provided much-needed reinforcement, stabilizing the Egyptian defense. The Hittite chariots, initially triumphant, were now tangled in the Egyptian camp and bogged down by terrain and close-quarters combat. Their momentum waned, and their numerical advantage began to falter. The unexpected twist: Egyptian allies turned the tide. Just when it seemed that the battle might end in Egyptian disaster, a surprising development changed the course of the fight. Ramses' Canaanite allies, the Nearin, arrived on the battlefield. This auxiliary force, previously stationed farther south, had been summoned as reinforcements. Their timely arrival caught the Hittites off guard. The Nearin launched an attack on the Hittite flank, creating confusion and forcing Muwatalli to reconsider his offensive. Faced with a revitalized Egyptian force and losing ground, the Hittites retreated toward their fortified camp behind Kadesh. Though they managed to hold the city itself, the field was now in Egyptian control. Neither side could claim total victory. The Egyptians had recovered from a devastating ambush, while the Hittites retained control over Kadesh. The battle ended in a military stalemate, but a propaganda triumph for Egypt. Aftermath: peace, propaganda, and legacy. In the years following the battle, Ramses II masterfully shaped public perception. He ordered the story of his victory at Kadesh to be inscribed on temple walls across Egypt, including at Abu Simbel, Luxor, and Karnak. These inscriptions depict him as a divine warrior single-handedly crushing the enemy. It was one of the earliest and most successful examples of political propaganda in human history. The truth, however, was more complex. Ramses had survived a cunning trap, rallied his army, and avoided defeat. But he had not conquered Kadesh. For the Hittites, the battle preserved their hold on northern Syria, but at great cost. Both empires realized that prolonged warfare was unsustainable. 15 years later, Ramses II and Hattusili III, the new Hittite king, signed what is widely considered the first recorded peace treaty in history. Known as the Treaty of Kadesh, this agreement ended hostilities and established a long-lasting alliance. A copy of the treaty, written in both Egyptian hieroglyphs and Akkadian cuneiform, is displayed today at the United Nations headquarters in New York, a testament to its enduring importance. Tactics and technology: what we learned from Kadesh. The Battle of Kadesh has long fascinated historians, not just because of its political implications, but also because of the military tactics and technology on display. It showcased the importance of intelligence, deception, and communication in warfare. The Hittite strategy of misinformation nearly won them a decisive victory, while the Egyptians demonstrated the critical value of quick response, leadership under pressure, and reinforcement coordination. The battle also highlighted the evolution of chariot warfare. Egyptian chariots, with their speed and agility, were more effective in hit-and-run tactics, while Hittite chariots provided brute strength. The terrain around Kadesh, with its rivers and uneven ground, ultimately diminished the Hittite chariots' advantage, turning their strength into a liability once the battle moved into close quarters. The battle's impact on ancient international relations. Beyond its military significance, the Battle of Kadesh marked a turning point in how ancient states managed diplomacy and alliances. The peace treaty that followed established a formal relationship between two major powers, including clauses for mutual defense and extradition. It was a precursor to modern diplomacy, demonstrating that even in the ancient world, negotiation and compromise were vital tools of statecraft. The alliance also had a personal dimension. Ramses II married a Hittite princess as part of the peace agreement, cementing the bond between the two dynasties. This political marriage helped stabilize relations for decades, allowing both empires to focus on internal development and other external threats. Conclusion. Kadesh, the battle that echoed through time. The Battle of Kadesh may have ended in a draw on the battlefield, but its legacy reshaped the political and military landscape of the ancient Near East. It showed how war could be as much about perception and diplomacy as about weapons and strategy. Ramses II secured his legacy not through conquest alone, but through storytelling and negotiation. The Hittites, though often overshadowed by their Egyptian rivals in modern memory, proved to be equally skilled in the arts of war and diplomacy. Today, as historians continue to debate the finer details of what happened that day on the banks of the Orontes River, the story of Kadesh remains a vivid reminder of the complexity of ancient warfare, where kings clashed not just with armies, but with ideas, narratives, and the enduring desire for peace. Enjoyed unraveling the secrets of the Battle of Kadesh? Then don't stop here. Hit that like button if you love epic history, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into ancient warfare, and turn on notifications so you never miss a legendary battle. Got questions or theories about what really happened at Kadesh? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear your take.